Because we mentioned in this surah, اهدنا الصراط المستقيم, al-hidayah. So there has to be an understanding of how does Allah guide His creation, and what is the khitab of Allah, the communication of Allah with His creation, with His creatures, such that He imparts guidance to them. What form does this guidance take? What are the levels of this guidance? What's the difference between the guidance Allah gives to His prophets and messengers and the guidance He gives to other than them? What are the types? What are the forms? Right? So this discussion would not be complete until and unless we understand the levels of guidance. And this is what Ibn al-Qayyim discusses next in his introduction. And these are known as the maratib al-hidayah, al-khasa wal-amma, the general and the specific levels of guidance. As we mentioned earlier, all of this is a refutation of the deists. The deists are those who are honest enough to believe that there must be a creator, there has to be a creator, because the evidence is compelling. However, because they do not want to be governed by a law, then they say that this creator created the creation and then he had nothing to do with it. He never sent any books, never sent any messengers. There is no such thing as revealed religion. It's all made up. It's people just trying to control each other and so on and so forth. And it's all fake and it's all false. But really, the reality is that they do not want to be governed by a law. They do not want to be, their desires to be reined in by a law. And so they are intellectually honest enough to believe that there has to be a creator, but then they don't want to follow the guidance. And so therefore, they have this position, we call them the deists, that the creator just forgot his creation, abandoned his creation, never sent any books, sent any messengers, never revealed any religion, is completely aloof from his creation. This is a great disbelief. And it is a revilement upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He should do such a thing. On the contrary, He sent guidance. And this guidance is of levels. So the first level, and there are 10 levels in total. So the first level, he says, وَهِيَ أَشْرُ مَرَاتِبٍ. It is 10 levels. The first one, الْمَرْتَبَةُ الْأُولَى مَرْتَبَةُ تَكْلِيمِ اللَّهِ تَعَالَى لِعَبْدِهِ يَقْظَةً بِلَا وَاسِطَةٍ. The first level of guidance then, the highest form, it is the level of Allah speaking to His servant when His servant is in a state of wakeness, right? Meaning this is not like in a dream. This is someone who is alive, awake, without any intermediary. No intermediary. So it's not through Jibreel, not through an angel. It is direct speaking. بَلْ مِنْهُ إِلَيْهِ. It is from Allah directly to him, meaning the Prophet or the Messenger. وَهَذِهِ أَعْلَى مَرَاتِبِهَا. This is the highest levels of guidance that Allah imparts. كَمَا كَلَّمَ مُوسَى بِنْ عِمْرَانَ صَلَوَاتُ اللَّهِ وَسَلَامُهُ عَلَى نَبِينَا وَعَلَيْهِ. So this is like Allah speaking to Musa alayhi salam, and in a way that He never spoke to anybody else. Right? This is unique for Musa alayhi salam. And so regarding this first level, there are numerous issues. Here we are affirming the speech of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And there are numerous parties that we need to address. So the first of them, in no particular order, this is a refutation, or it's our understanding is in opposition to that of the Christians, the Nasara, because they claim and they say that Allah's attribute of speech, kalam, is something that can leave Him and enter the world and become another entity, another thing, right? So in other words, they say that the word became flesh, right? That Isa alayhi salam is the word of Allah in flesh. And this is batil, this is false, because we know that the attributes of a thing do not leave that thing. Right? And in fact, Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah and others, they give an example. They say, for example, if you are outside and you call into a room and you say, Ya Abdullah, Ya Zayd, or whatever, you're calling someone, it doesn't mean that you and part of you has now entered into the room, into the ghurfa, into the room. Your attribute of speech is still with you, right? It didn't leave you. It is still your sifa, and it didn't go and become a thing. It doesn't mean that any part of you now is in the room just because you called out and because that person heard you, right? And so this is the mistake that the Christians are making. They are claiming that the attributes of Allah, that the attribute of Allah of speech left him and became a thing. This is false. The attribute of Allah is with Allah. It is eternal with Allah, and Allah speaks as and when He wills. So Allah's word did not become flesh. Rather, what Allah said, He said be, meaning, He sent Jibreel alayhi salam with a word of command, and through that word of command, Isa alayhi salam was conceived without any male intervention. It happened by a word of command. Right? The word itself did not become the flesh and become, Isa alayhi salam. So we have to believe in the kalam of Allah in this manner. It is an attribute of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Likewise, the kalam of Allah is by way of harf and sawt. It is in voice and letter, as is the belief of Ahlul Sunnati wal Jama'ah. It is not just a ma'na, it is not just the meaning, right? Because the definition of speech in the Arabic language is, as they say, nutq mufhim. It is an expression of speech which has a meaning, which is understood. So kalam isn't just a meaning in yourself, right? It is actual speech. And so this is a refutation of the Jahmiyyah and the Ash'aris and people like that. They try to claim that Allah's kalam is just a meaning in His self. Allah does not actually speak with actual speech that is heard. It is just a meaning in His self that He then conveys, He inspires into the heart and mind of His prophets and messengers. But He doesn't speak it such that it is heard. And this is evidently false. This is plainly false. This is a negation of His speech. So we believe in His speech in accordance with what the meaning of speech is in the Arabic language. And this speech of Allah is tied to His will, to His mashi'ah. Allah speaks with whatever He wills, to whomever He wills. And so He spoke the Torah, He spoke the Injil, He spoke the Zabur, He spoke the Quran. These are all from the speech of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so Allah's speech is a broader attribute, and from His speech is the Quran, the Injil, Zabur, the Torah, and from His speech there will be speech on the Day of Judgment, and from His speech. So all of these are instances of Allah's speech. And so the point being here is that the first and the greatest and the highest level of guidance is Allah directly speaking to one of His messengers when that messenger is in a state of wakeness, like he's awake and alert, right? And he heard that speech, he heard Allah's speech. And this obviously is Kalimullah Musa alayhi salam. The second level is Martabatul Wahi al-Mukhtas bil-Anbiya. This now is what we call revelation or inspiration, al-Wahi. What is the meaning of al-Wahi? Ibn al-Qayyim says, it is here, he says, al-i'lam as-sari' al-khafi. Al-i'lam as-sari' al-khafi. It is a hidden, rapid, very quick notification, or imparting information in a very quick and a hidden way. So he says, قال تعالى إنا أوحينا إليك كما أوحينا إلى نوح وَالنَّبِيِّينَ مِن بَعْدِهِ. Indeed, we have revealed to you just as we revealed to Nuh and the prophets after him. So here, the wahi, what we call the wahi, this now is inspiration, and it takes on different forms. And these different forms, as Ibn al-Qayyim explains, it can be that Allah Azza wa Jal, that He imparts into the nafs, into the aql and the qalb of a prophet, right? What he wants to be informed and imparted. So this would be like the original way. And we know that the Messenger of Allah, when he used to receive this type of revelation, there would be visible effects upon him because of that revelation being sent to him. Even to the extent that when he was sitting on a riding beast and the revelation would come to him, his body would become heavy and it could be visibly seen on the riding beast. And then there were other effects as well, like, you see on his face and things like that. So this is one way of wahi. Another way of wahi is, he would say sometimes that he'd hear the sounds of, like you have iron chains and it makes that noise, like it's being dragged and it's making noise. And then that would come first. And then the revelation, whatever it was, would be imparted to him. Another way would be that it would come by way of someone in the form of a man, like an angel, but this will come later. This is the third one, in fact. So the third level, المرتبة الثالثة إرسال الرسول الملكي إلى الرسول البشري. This now is the third way. The third way Allah imparts guidance to His creation. It is by sending an angel messenger to a human messenger. So He then reveals to him, فَيُوحِي إِلَيْهِ عَنِ اللَّهِ مَا أَمْرَهُ أَن يُوصِلَهُ إِلَيْهِ. So He reveals to him from Allah what Allah commanded him to reach that prophet or that messenger. Now these three types, he says, فَهَذِهِ الْمَرَاتِبَ الثَّلَاثَةِ خَاصَّةً بِالْأَنْبِيَاءِ عَلَيْهِمُ السَّلَامُ لَا تَكُونُ لِغَيْرِهِمْ. So these three forms of guidance or forms of revelation are unique and specific only to the prophets and the messengers. So therefore, this means that anybody who claims to receive revelation, anyone who claims to receive directly from Allah, whether it be from the people of disbelief who claim they are prophets, or whether it be from these Sufis who claim that they are the awliya, they take directly from Allah, from the ever-living, they do not take from the dead, meaning the prophets and messengers who've passed away, because they believe that when the prophet and messenger passes away, the connection now is cut. So therefore, they communicate directly with Allah and are able to receive enlightenment and revelation directly from Allah. All of this is kadhib, this is a lie. Anyone who makes that claim and who makes a claim to prophethood is a kadhab. Because these three, as we said, they are unique and specific only to the prophets and the messengers. Okay, so this now is clear. This is revelation to the prophets and messengers. They bring a book, they bring a law. These are men who are chosen by Allah. It is something that Allah chooses where He places His messengership. And these are men who are known for honesty, integrity, uprightness, and so on and so forth. And He conveys to them, and then He supports them by way of miracles, so that the people know that these are truthful men, they are aided by Allah. And so this information is conveyed by way of the prophets and messengers, by way of these three types of guidance, which is taklim, Allah speaking directly. This is for Musa alayhi salam. Then it is wahi in general. Wahi in general, what is it? It is hidden, rapid communication, hidden, rapid notification. And if we stop and reflect here, like in the time of the prophets and messengers, those people would think, how can this prophet claim to receive information from the Lord of the heavens, from on high, like in an instant like this? This is impossible. This man is an imposter. This man is a liar. This man is a magician. this man is a source. They wouldn't believe it. But what happens is, as time passes on, we come to know and see certain things within Allah's creation. Certain things are revealed to us that make us understand and have firm conviction that these things are true, right? This is like a way in the Quran. For example, in the Quran, we are told to reflect upon how Allah sends down the rain upon a dead earth. It is totally lifeless. The rain comes down, it revives the earth vegetation comes, and then the vegetation lives for a short while, then it becomes yellow, it dies, and the cycle repeats again. This is one of the evidences that we are commanded to look into and to reflect upon, so that we understand the plausibility of the resurrection, right? This is something that we can see actually with our own eyes, that make us understand that if this is what can happen with life and death and the cycles of life and death, then this is exactly what will happen with the resurrection. It is totally plausible. It is totally believable, right? This is a proof against the people of disbelief, the ones who mock and laugh and say, when we are إِذَا كُنَّا عِظَامًا, when we are bones, are we going to be resurrected? Absolutely, yes, you will, right? Because the proof is all around you. In the same way, there are many, many things that this now no longer becomes far-fetched, right? That Allah communicates and reveals to some of His servants knowledge, revelation. Nowadays, you know that you can send information from one part of the world to the other part of the world in literally less than not even milliseconds, less than milliseconds. This is rapid communication, right? If this is possible in terms of what men can achieve in what is between themselves, then how can not the Lord of the worlds reveal to His messengers and prophets, revelation? How is that impossible then? The one who created the ways and the means. He's the one who created the ways and the means. The fact that we can communicate through the air, information, and everything else, the media, data, everything. There are means within Allah's creation which were not known before, and which are now discovered through the waves and putting things in a wave and so on and so forth. Right? So if we can believe that and we know that, how can it then be, how can revelation from Allah, how can Allah sending wahi to His prophets and messengers, how is that an impossibility then? Right? So in the creation there are things that which are a proof for the plausibility that these things are true and real and are totally believable. Right? So all of this, as we said, the wahi itself takes on different types and different forms in the way that it comes to a prophet or a messenger. And then the third one is sending an actual angel. These are unique for the prophets and messengers. However, there is more than this, and so this is where we go to the fourth level. Al-martabatu al-rabi'a, martabatu al-tahdith. This now is the level of al-tahdith. Right? Al-tahdith is by way of, effectively it is angels that come and they put something into the heart of a servant, and he goes on to explain, وَهَذِهِ دُونَ مَرْتَبَةِ الْوَحِي الْخَاص. Right? So this is lower than the level of wahi. It's not wahi. It is lower than the level of wahi. فَتَكُونُ لِلصِّدِّيقِينَ. This is for those who are truthful. For those who are truthful. كما كانت لعمر بن الخطاب رضي الله عنه. This used to happen to Umar bin al-Khattab. كما قال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم إنه كان في الأمم قبلكم محدثون فإن يكن في هذه الأمة فعمر بن الخطاب. Indeed, in the nations who came before, there were those who were spoken to. They were spoken to. And if there was in this ummah, then it would be Umar ibn al-Khattab. So, he then goes on to mention Ibn al-Qayyim from Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah. He says that this level of tahdith, This is something that used to be frequent in the previous nations. And the reason for that is because the prophethood and the messengership was not perfected, unlike the messengership and the prophethood of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So therefore, in the previous nations, this thing used to be common amongst the Bani Israel. For example, we know that there were many prophets, and there were many of those who were not prophets, but they were mukallamun or muhaddathun, right? That they were spoken to, or that they were, meaning that something was put into, as he says, wal muhaddath huwa alladhi yuhaddathu fi sirrihi wa qalbihi bishay fayakunu kama yuhaddathu bihi. This is a tahdith is when something is communicated into the heart or the interior of a person with a thing, and then it turns out to be exactly as he was made to think and see, and it was put in his heart and his mind. Right? So this obviously is, in this ummah, it is Umar ibn al-Khattab radiyallahu anhu. Many times he said things that he was actually correct in, and the revelation came and confirmed that it was like what Umar said. This is because he was muhaddith, the one who was spoken to. However, it is something rare in this ummah. Why? Because the revelation, the perfection of the revelation, the Quran, and the guidance of the Messenger of the Sunnah, it is come with perfection of guidance. And therefore, this ummah does not need those who are muhaddathun frequently like they used to be in the previous nations. It is a sign of the perfection of this guidance. Now he goes on to say, Ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah in his book, that look at the difference between the station of Umar radiallahu anhu and the station of Abu Bakr. Abu Bakr is as-Siddiq, and Umar has the level of tahdith. Which of the two is better? Which of the two is superior? It is Abu Bakr who is superior. Why? Because Abu Bakr was not in need, because of his utmost, like his superiority in terms of his iman, his honesty, uprightness, truthfulness. He did not need to be muhaddath, to be spoken to be shown and to be inspired, like through tahdith, as to what is right. He didn't need that. But Umar ibn al-Khattab was given that. So the level of Siddiqiyah is greater than the level of being a muhaddith. Right? A Siddiq is greater than the level of muhaddith. He does not need to have tahdith. Just like we know, just like Ibn Taymiyyah explains in his work, Al-Furqan and other books like that as well, that just because miracles, the karamat of the awliya, certain of Allah's servants, Allah performs miracles through their hands. This does not mean that they are now superior and greater in iman. No. Rather, they are weaker in iman because they were in need of the miracle for them to have conviction and certainty and strength of iman. But as for those who do not need miracles, and just by virtue of their iman in itself, because it is firmly rooted, firmly grounded, they have absolute certainty, right? They are much stronger than those who need the karamat, right? So in the same way, Ibn al-Qayyim says that our Shaykh, meaning Shaykh Ibn Taymiyyah, explained this point, which is the Siddiq أكمل من المحدث لأنه استغنى بكمال صديقيته ومتابعته عن التحديث والإلهام والكشف. Right? Because the Siddiq, because of his Siddiqiyah, utmost truthfulness in his speech, in his word, in his deed, in his intention, everything, he's utmost in his truthfulness. He does not need to be spoken to. Why? Because by virtue of maintaining sidq, then whatever emanates from him, it will be sidq. Right? He will arrive at the truth in different things by virtue of his sidq. So he does not need the hadith and things like that. Now he goes on to mention there are some people, and he's speaking here about the Sufis. They claim to have tahdith. They say, حدثني ربي حدثني قلبي عن ربي. You know, they say, my heart informed me about my Lord. And he says, these people, we don't know who is really speaking to them. Is it the shaitan? Is it Iblis when they say these things? How do they know who is speaking to them? And so he speaks about them for a while, refuting them and saying that these people, it could be just shaitan. Is it from shaitan? How do they know who is muhaddith? We know Umar bin al-Khattab was muhaddith by textual evidence of the Messenger of Allah. But how do we know about you? Nobody's given us revelation that you will be muhaddith, right? So all these people who are making these claims that I was informed by my heart of my Lord, and these are lies and these are fabrications. Anyhow, this is at-tahdith, as you can see. It is not revelation like the first three, right? It is Allah inspiring or putting by way of the angels a thought or a knowledge which happens to agree with the truth. So it's kind of inspiring and directing a person to the truth by way of the agency of angels, but it is not revelation. It is not taklim, it is not wahi, it is not by way of an angel sent as a man or in its original form to a non-prophet to speak to him. It's not like that, right? So this is the fourth level. It is at-tahdith. Now the fifth level, now remember, all of these are types of guidance. So here, this is Allah Azza wa Jal guiding Umar bin al-Khattab to arrive at what is the truth by way of tahdith through the agency of the angels. The fifth one, al-martabatul khamisa, martabatul ifham, meaning Allah making you understand, giving you fahm. Fahm is a type of guidance, fahm. He mentions here from the ayah regarding Dawood and Sulaiman. وَدَاوُودَ وَسُلَيْمَانَ إِذْ يَحْكُمَانِ فِي الْحَرْثِ. And Dawood and Sulaiman, when they judged in the issue of al-harth. This was a dispute that was brought to them regarding some flock of sheep. And وَكُنَّا لِحُكْمِهِمْ شَاهِدِينَ, that we witnessed the judgment that they gave. فَفَحَّمْنَاهَا Sulaiman. And we made Sulaiman to understand. Sulaiman understood the issue, and he was given the fahm, the understanding of the issue. وَكُلًّا آتَيْنَا حُكْمًا وَعِلْمًا. However, to both of them we gave ilm, and we gave the hukm, right? The judgment and the knowledge. So there's ilm, there is hukm, and there is fahm. Here Sulaiman, in this mas'ala specifically, he was given the fahm, he was given the understanding in the particular issue. And then also we see from Ali bin Abi Talib radiyallahu anhu, someone asked him, هل خصكم رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم بشيء دون الناس? Did Allah's messenger give you something exclusive to the people? Meaning that did he give you a secret guidance which he kept away from the rest of the people? And in Islam, there is no secret guidance, right? There's no secret hidden knowledge. There's no what they call esoteric knowledge, meaning knowledge which is mystical, and it requires a certain type of person to understand that mystical knowledge and to understand it and to interpret it. This idea has come through the batiniya, the people who try to infiltrate Islam and to destroy Islam from within. And they took these ideas from the people who came before, the nations that came before. This notion that there is some secret hidden knowledge that is possessed by certain people, and then it gets transmitted by other people, and so you can only get that knowledge through all of this is from the Sufis and the Batiniya. All of this is false. There is no such thing as secret hidden knowledge in Islam, right? This is how you get cults. cults, where these cults appear, where they claim that they have the secret hidden esoteric knowledge and you can only get it by pledging allegiance to the follower and all of this is falsehood. However, in this hadith, or in this narration, Ali bin Abi Talib was asked, did the Messenger of Allah give you anything in secret exclusive to the rest of the people? And he said, فَقَالْ لَا وَالَّذِي فَلَكَ الْحَبَّةِ وَبَرَأَ النَّسَمَةِ. He said, no, by he who split the seed and who created every breathing creature, no, he did not give us anything specific and secret to the rest of the people, except إِلَّا فَحْمًا يُؤْتِيهِ اللَّهُ عَبْدًا فِي كِتَابِهِ. Except that he gave us an understanding, fahm, which Allah gives to the servant in his book, from his book. And he said, and other than that, he just gave me what is in this scroll, in this paper. What was in this paper? Ali ibn Abi Talib, he said, وَكَانَ فِيهِ الْأَقَلْ وَهُوَ الدِّيَّاتِ. So meaning that the messenger gave to Ali radiallahu anhu something in which there were three things. First, guidance regarding the blood money, right? When someone is killed accidentally or whatever, then there's blood money. وَفَكَاكُ الْأَسِيرِ. And likewise guidance regarding releasing the captive in war. وَأَنْ لَا يُقْتَلْ مُسْلِمٌ بِكَافِرٍ. And that a Muslim should not be killed in retribution, retribution for a disbeliever. Right? These three things, he said, the Messenger gave to me in a scroll. Other than that, he would give us fahm, understanding, which Allah gives to his servant from his book. And then Ibn al-Qayyim, if you go to the actual book, he goes on to explain. He says, فَالْفَهْمْ عَنِ اللَّهِ وَرَسُولِهِ عُنْوَانُ الصِّدِّيقِيَّةِ. This understanding that we derive from Allah and His Messenger, it is siddiqiyah. Meaning, who is the one who is bestowed this understanding from the people? It is a person who manifests siddiqiyah. Meaning that you are utmost truthful in word, in intention, in deed. If you are someone who is truthful in intention, word and deed, then you are the type of person who will receive this fahm from this ifham, meaning Allah will make you to understand. Allah will give you fahm. Allah will give you understanding because of the siddiqiyah. And he goes on to say, وَفِيهِ تَفَاوَتَتْ مَرَاتِبُ الْعُلَمَاءِ. Maratibul ulama. This is why you see among the scholars there are maratib. Not every scholar is the same. There are scholars who are at different levels of understanding. Until he says, حَتَّى عُدَّ أَلْفٌ بِوَاحِدٍ. Meaning that there is such difference even amongst the ulama in understanding of fahm that you can have one alim who would be equal to 1,000 ulama in terms of the actual fahm. And then he goes, look, فَانْظُرْ إِلَى فَهْمِ Ibn Abbas وَقَدْ سَأَلَهُ عُمَرْ. Look at the understanding of Ibn Abbas, and who was a youth. And Umar bin al-Khattab had asked him, he said, he asked him, and also the people of Badr who fought in Badr were all present, and others, and he asked him about this surah. Surah Nasr, إِذَا جَاءَ نَصْرُ اللَّهِ وَالْفَتْحِ. So, Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu, because he was given understanding, he said that the meaning of this ayah is that Allah Azza wa Jal is indicating to His Prophet that He is going to take him unto Himself. This is the meaning of this surah, of this chapter, إِذَا جَاءَ نَصْرُ اللَّهِ وَالْفَتْحِ. Now, he says that just from this, how would you understand that just from this? If you to just read the surah, there's nothing in there which says that the time of the passing of the Messenger of Allah, taking the soul of the Messenger of Allah, that this is approaching near. There's nothing in the chapter that even says that. But how would someone understand that this is the intent and this is what is the Messenger of Allah is being informed by way indirectly of this surah? This is because this is something that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that He gave this fahm. He gave this fahm to Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu. And it was hidden from all of the other companions. And yet he was the youngest, he was younger than them in his age. And he says, وَأَيْنَ تَجِدْ فِي هَذِهِ السُّورَةِ الْإِعْلَامِ بِأَجْلِهِ. Right? لَوْلَا الْفَحْمِ الْخَاصِ. Where in this chapter do you see anything about the approach of the death of the Messenger of Allah? No. But it is purely by way of al-fahm al-khas, which was given to Ibn Abbas radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. And so he says, this you will see that the maratib of the people in terms of their afham, it varies a great deal. And this is the fifth level of guidance, al-hidayah. And as we said, he says, فَالْفَحْمُ عَنِ اللَّهِ وَرَسُولِهِ عُنْوَانُ الصِّدِّيقِيَّةِ وَمَنْشُورَ الْوَارِثَةِ النَّبَوِيَّةِ وَفِيهِ تَفَاوَتَتْ مَرَاتِبَ الْعُلَمَاءِ حَتَّى عُدَّ أَلْفٌ بِوَاحِدٍ. So basically, this is understanding, comes from Allah and His Messenger. It is based upon being a Siddiq, truthful in intent, word and deed, and it is an inheritance of the Prophet. And the scholars have differed greatly in this, until one scholar would be equal to 1,000 in his fahm. This is the fifth level. So what do we have after the three which are unique to the prophets? We have at-tahdith, and then we have al-ifham. Al-ifham, right? So remember, this is guidance Allah gives to other than the prophets and messengers. Allah guides people, and there is a type of khitab, meaning a type of communication, not the direct communication like He does with the prophets and messengers, but in these other ways, right? Through the agency of the angels, or through giving understanding, right, to a servant. The sixth level, al-martabatu sadisa, the sixth level, martabatul bayan al-aam. Right, so this now is the general bayan, the general explanation, the general notification. So this is, he says, هو تبيين الحق وتمييزه من الباطل بأدلته وشواهده وأعلامه بحيث يصير مشهودا للقلب كشهود العين للمرئيات. Right, so this now, what is this referring to? The sixth type of guidance, this is al-bayanul am. This is just general, meaning by way of revelation that we receive. Right? So here, Allah distinguishes the truth from the falsehood, and using evidences, using observances, using signs, such that the truth, the hearts are able to see the truth in the same way that the eyes are able to see the things which are seen. What is this guidance here now? This is the guidance that we receive, the Quran, the revealed revelation. So in the Quran, we read the Quran, what do we see? We see Allah establishing signs for His rububiyyah, signs for His uluhiyyah. He is revealing to us His revelation, the commands, the prohibitions, the sharia, in which there is rectification. We see all these things, we understand it, and now we can see haqq from batil, we see tawheed from shirk, we see iman from kufr, we see righteousness, bir and taqwa from sin and disobedience. Right? We see all these things outlined very, very clearly until the heart can see it in the same way that the eyes can see things. This is al-bayanul am. This is the general discourse by way of revelation that reaches all of mankind. This now is for the whole, all of mankind has received this al-bayanul am, this general type of discourse. And this is the hujjah of Allah. This is Allah's hujjah against the creation, against all of the creation. Now this type of bayan, he goes on to explain, this is something, because this guidance has been conveyed to everybody, then it means that Allah does not misguide anybody until after they have turned away from this guidance. Right, so we must understand this point. The sixth level is al-bayanul am, right? This now is a general discourse to all of mankind. All of mankind has received the guidance. If now somebody turns away from the guidance, what's the reason? It's because of a sickness and a perversion in their own hearts, not because Allah did not give the guidance, right? And so for that reason, we see in the Quran, وَمَا كَانَ اللَّهُ لِيُضِلَّ قَوْمًا بَعْدَ إِذْ هَدَاهُمْ حَتَّى يُبَيِّنَ لَهُمْ مَا يَتَّقُونَ. This is a proof that Allah is never to misguide a people after He has guided them until He explains to them that which they should fear, that which they will have taqwa. Right? This verse is clear that Allah does not misguide a people except as a punishment for them after the truth has been made clear to them and they choose other than it. Right? And this is a secret of al-qadr. Ibn al-Qayyim says this is وَإِذَا عَرَفْتَ هَذَا عَرَفْتَ سِرَّ الْقَدْرِ. If you recognize this point here, you will realize the secret to do with al-qadr as to how Allah misguides certain people. Right? It is because they turn away from the truth and they choose other than the truth. Like for example, he says, فَلَمَّا زَاغُوا أَزَاغَ اللَّهُ قُلُوبَهُم. The Yahud who left Musa alayhi salam and abused him. And so when there was a perversion, then Allah, then Allah misguided their hearts. They also said, وَقَوْلُهُمْ قُلُوبُنَا غُلْفٌ. They say that our statement that our hearts are covered, right? This is what they said. Our hearts are covered. بَلْ طَبَعَ اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِمْ بِكُفْرِهِمْ. Rather, Allah covered their hearts by way of their kufr. Right? So what did they say first? Our hearts are veiled, covered. So meaning they turned away. So then Allah sealed their hearts upon the kufr. They were punished after that. What came first? Our hearts are veiled. We don't know what you're saying. We don't understand it. So they swerved from the truth. So then Allah sealed their hearts upon that disbelief. And he goes on to mention some other things. وَأَمَّا ثَمُودْ فَهَدَيْنَاهُمْ فَاسْتَحَبُّوا الْعَمَى عَلَى الْهُدَى. And Thamud, we guided them, but they chose blindness over guidance. So you can see that all of these people, al-bayanul am is the general conveyance of the truth by way of revelation, by way of a prophet, by way of a revealed book. Everything is made clear. Tawheed from shirk, kufr from iman, righteousness from sin, and Allah's legislations, and what is righteousness, what is rectification. Then when a people turn away from that, Allah's hujjah is established and He punishes them by making them become misguided. Now this al-bayan, al-am, is of two types. Bayanun bil-ayat al-masmu'a al-matluwa wa bayanun bil-ayat al-mashhuda al-mar'iyya. Right? So this guidance, it is of two types. The first one is what we hear and recite, meaning the actual speech of Allah, the Quran, the ayat of Allah which are read. So we read the Quran and we listen to it and we recite it, and in there guidance is imparted. And then also the ayat which we see around us that Allah indicates to us. So we see the ayat of Allah, we see in the creation, we see life and death, we see the sun, we see the stars, we see the moon, we see how the creation of man in the womb and reproduction, We see the revival of the earth after its death. We see the animals that Allah has created for the benefit of mankind. So we observe all of these things. We see how Allah punishes nations and destroys nations, how Allah raises and elevates and disgraces and lowers, guides and misguides. All these things we see happening around us. These are the ayat which are, which are observed and which are witnessed. And so when we combine this one with that one, then they indicate the tawheed of Allah and of His names and of His attributes and of His perfection and of the truthfulness of what the messengers told us. And this is why وَلِهَذَا يَدْعُ اللَّهُ عِبَادَهُ بِآيَاتِهِ الْمَتْلُوَةِ إِلَى التَّفَكُّرِ فِي آيَاتِهِ الْمَشْهُودَةِ. This is why in the recited verses Allah commands us and invites us to reflect upon the observed signs. Right? The recited signs call us to reflect upon the observed signs. So we combine those two types of knowledge, so we gain understanding of Allah, His names and His attributes. So this is al-bayanul am, right? So this is not, if you look at type 4, at-tahdith, this is through the medium of the angels, something being put in the heart and the soul of someone that is correct, and it turns out to be just like just like it came to him, right? This is very rare in this ummah. Why? Because the revelation for this ummah has been perfected, and the Prophet is complete and perfect, unlike previous nations. The one after that is al-ifham, Allah giving understanding to specific people because of their siddiqiyya. This is a type of guidance that Allah gives to individuals. The next one, 6, is general for the whole of mankind. It is by way of revelation, by way of the first three, right? Taqleem, wahi, and al-rasul al-malaki, right? Through the angel that conveys to a prophet. So this now has been established, and this type of guidance is recited ayat and observed ayat. Combine them together. Through them both, we see the tawheed of Allah distinct from what is besides it, shirk. We see iman in Allah distinct from what is besides it, of kufr. We see righteousness and rectification distinct from corruption, sin, disobedience. We see sunnah from bid'ah. All these are laid out very, very clear. The truth is established, right? And then if Allah misguides someone, it's because of a perversion in your heart. Not that He didn't explain. He has explained everything. But you were misguided because you turned away from the guidance, because of a zayg, because of a deviation. So this is al-bayan al-am. This is a type of guidance. The 7th one, al-martabatu sadisa, al-bayan al-khas. This now is al-bayan al-mustalzim lil-hidayah al-khasa. وهو بيان تقارنه العناية والتوفيق والاجتباء. This is a type of guidance which necessitates that you actually receive guidance, right? The first one, what was the first one? The first one is simply Allah conveying the guidance and making a general bayan of the truth. So this now is imparted, right? It is a shart. It is a shart. It is a condition of being guided. But it is not a mujib of guidance. Do you understand? Right? There's a shart and there is a mujib. A shart is for you to be guided, you have to have this guidance. It has to be there. But as for you actually being guided, this is another type of bayan, that is al-bayanul khas. This is this level. This is where Allah actually guides you. Right? So it's not just al-bayanul am, where the truth is being made clear, because not everybody is going to follow the guidance. There is another type of guidance where Allah guides your heart to actually be upon the truth. Right? This is the guidance, as you know, this is the guidance of tawfiq, the guidance of Allah granting you success. So He says that this guidance is the guidance where Allah gives you guidance, but He shows concern to you, al-inaya, and tawfiq, He grants you success, wal-ijtiba, He chooses you to act upon the guidance, and waqata' asbab al-khidlan, and He cuts off all of the causes where you would otherwise be abandoned by Allah. and وَمَارِدِهَا عَنِ الْقَلْبِ, and from these things passing by your heart. So therefore, فَلَا تَتَخَلَّفْ عَنْهُ الْهِدَايَةَ الْبَتَّةِ. So such a person, he will never ever miss guidance. He will be guided. And so Allah says regarding this martaba, قال تعالى في هذه المرتبة إن تحرص على هداهم فإن الله لا يهدي من يضل. If you are eager for their guidance, then indeed Allah does not guide the one whom He misguides. Meaning here that the Messenger ﷺ wants to guide somebody, but it is only Allah who determines who will be guided. Allah gives the actual guidance. The Messenger conveys, he makes the bayan, al-bayan al-am, but it is Allah who makes al-bayan al-khas to specific individuals. And then he mentions another ayah, وَقَالَ إِنَّكَ لَا تَهْدِي مَنْ أَحْبَبْتَ وَلَكِنَّ اللَّهَ يَهْدِي مَنْ يَشَاءُ. Indeed, you, O Muhammad ﷺ, do not guide whom you love, but Allah, He guides whomever He wills. So, فَالْبِيَانُ الْأَوَّلِ شَرْط. The first, al-biyan al-am, is a shart, meaning it is a condition for you to be guided. وَهَذَا مُوجِبٌ. But this second, al-biyan al-khas, is that meaning this is something that necessitates you will be guided. Meaning it is Allah who is now guiding you specifically, by way of tawfiq, meaning He grants you success and He grants you, success in the path. This now leads us to the 8th martaba, al-martabatu al-thamina, and this is martabatul isma'. This now is the level of hearing, Allah making you hear. However, this is a specific type of hearing. He says, وَلَوْ عَلِمَ اللَّهُ فِيهِمْ خَيْرًا لَأَسْمَعَهُمْ وَلَوْ أَسْمَعَهُمْ لَتَوَلَّوْا وَهُمْ مُعْرِضُونَ. So here Allah says about a group of people, if Allah knew that there was any goodness in them, He would have made them to hear. And if they were to hear, they would have turned away, they would have turned on their backs and turned away. Right? So, and then there's also a series of ayat, وَمَا يَسْتَوِي الْأَعْمَى وَالْبَصِيرُ. The blind and the seeing are not equal. وَلَا الظُّلُمَاتُ وَلَا النُّورُ. Nor the darknesses and the light. وَلَا الظِّلُّ وَلَا الْحَرُورُ. Nor the shade and the part where there is heat. وَمَا يَسْتَوِي الْأَحْيَاءُ وَلَا الْأَمْوَاتُ. And the living and the dead, nor the living dead. إِنَّ اللَّهَ يُسْمِعُ مَنْ يَشَاءُ. Indeed, Allah causes those to hear whom He wills. وَمَا أَنْتَ بِمُسْمِعٍ مَنْ فِي الْقُبُورِ. And you cannot make those to hear those who are in the graves. Now, in these ayat, there is a type of isma'. Isma' means to make someone hear. Right? But this hearing is not the hearing of the ears. There is a hearing which is the hearing of the ears. This is where you listen to the conveyance and to the evidences. So this reaches people. And through it is the hujjah established. But this type of isma' is isma'ul qulub. Right? Not everybody who hears is it going to reach the heart. So there's a type of hearing where you've heard it. For example, like to many of the people of disbelief, you say, or they read the ayat of Allah that you will be resurrected and you will be held accountable, and ayat. So they hear these ayat, they understand what the ayat mean. The hujjah is established by way of these ayat, right? Because it's reached the ears, but it hasn't reached the heart. Right? The heart, this isma' is what reaches the heart, because there is the lafz and the ma'na. There's the lafz and ma'na. There is the word and there is the meaning. And the word relates only to the ears, but the meaning relates to the heart. Right? To the heart. So the heart understands, okay, what is this statement. What does it mean? What are its implications? So let's go back to the example. So you recite an ayah to a kafir, and the ayah could be an ayah to do with resurrection, deeds, reward, punishment. On the surface, he's heard it, and he knows, like he knows the ma'na, but it isn't something that reaches the heart, wherein he is looking at the haqiqah of its meaning and its maqsood, what is its intent, and for it to settle in the heart. This is a type of isma' that Allah gives to certain individuals. And that's why some people from the people of disbelief, this is how Allah opens the hearts to accepting Islam. Right? Because He's made them hear beyond just the hearing of the ears. And that's why you see among the people, there could be a group of people, among them there'll be two who decide, well, we'll become Muslim, and the others reject Islam. But they all heard the same thing. They all heard the same ayat, they all heard the same alfaz, they heard everything. But how did these two, what happened with these two? It's because Allah, the al-isma', He made them to hear in their hearts of the reality of what is being said, the maqsood of what is being said, and so their hearts grasped it fully, and then Allah guided them by way of this isma'. But as for those people, no. For whatever wisdom and reason, Allah knows. So this type of isma', wal-murad alladhi huwa hadhul qalb, so the intent here is the part that relates to the heart. Now otherwise, people listen. وَمَا يَأْتِيهِم مِّن ذِكْرٍ مِّن رَبِّهِمْ مُحْدَثٍ إِلَّا اسْتَمَعُوهُ وَهُمْ يَلْعَبُونَ لَاهِيَةً قُلُوبُهُم. So here Allah establishes that no new reminder comes to them from your Lord, except that they listen to it while they are playing idly, their hearts involved in just idleness. And so they're hearing it, but just like today, the Quran, you'll see, for example, the Quran on the internet, on the tube, and translation there, and people of disbelief listen, they hear the Quran, they hear what is being said, but then they're preoccupied in the social media, in the celebrities, in the football, in this, whatever. The hearts are just preoccupied. So that preoccupation is not allowing them to receive the isma' of the heart, right? Where they truly understand the haqiqah of what's being said and the maqsood, and it's not reaching the heart for them because their hearts are preoccupied in frivolity. But someone who takes himself out of that frivolity and pays attention and tries to seek out, what's being said, Allah will give him that isma' and guide him, right? So this shows that there is a hearing which is the hearing of the ears only, and a hearing which is the hearing of the heart. And if the heart is preoccupied in other things, the frivolity and idle play and all the rest of it, then how can that heart hear with this type of hearing? That heart will not hear. So this is the 8th level, the 8th way, or the 8th type of guidance that Allah brings to people. And so this takes us to now the 9th level. And the 9th level is martabatul ilham. This is now what we call ilham, is like inspiration. Right? Inspiration. He mentions the ayah, وَنَفْسٍ وَمَا سَوَّاهَا فَأَلْهَمَهَا فُجُورَهَا وَتَقْوَاهَا. By the soul and how He apportioned or fashioned it. And then He inspired it as to its sinfulness and to its righteousness. And the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, Allahumma alhimni rushdi, Allahumma alhimni rushdi waqini sharra nafsi. This is a dua the Messenger of Allah used to make. Oh Allah, inspire me as to my guidance and save me from the evil of my soul. So here we are asking Allah to inspire us as to our guidance. And this inspiration, Ibn al-Qayyim discusses that this ilham is of different levels, and it happens in different ways. The first way that it happens is by way of an angel by way of an angel. There occurs in the hadith, that there's a hadith which is sahih, that indeed there is an angel that has like a lamma, like it comes and it gives a suggestion, or it gives something to Ibn Adam. And then Shaitan has the same thing. He comes to the son of Adam and he has a suggestion or a whisper. So as for the inspiration or the suggestion of the angel, it is to promise him with good and to believe in Allah's wa'id. And the Shaitan he promises him with evil and to reject Allah's promise. So each of these two come and they compete and they inspire, a servant. And so the one that comes from the angel is a type of inspiration for him to do good. Right? So this is when you recognize this yourself, that you're sitting or you're walking and you're reflecting, and something comes in your mind to do some goodness or to do some evil. Right? So these things, you are being tugged and pulled. One is coming from a shaitan, one is coming from the malak, from the angel. So this is a type of ilham, this is a type of inspiration that is coming to you, inspiring you towards your goodness. And everybody, people receive this type of ilham, but then it's up to them to decide what they're going to choose. And in fact, he mentions a hadith here, a beautiful hadith which is authentic in At-Tirmidhi, and it's declared authentic by Shaykh Al-Bani rahimahullah. In this hadith he says, Inna Allah ta'ala daraba mathalan. Indeed, Allah has given a similitude. There is a straight path, siratan mustaqima. Right? Then he says, on either side of the sirat, there are two walls. So imagine in your mind what you are seeing. So imagine you are standing and there's a straight path. Right? Then on this side there is a wall, and on this side there is a wall. So the wall's going like this, right? Like there's two walls. Then he says, لَهُمَا أَبْوَابٌ مُفَتَّحَةٌ. Right, so on either side there are gates which are open. The gates open like this, and the gates open like this. There are gates as you walk down the path. Then he says, وَعَلَى الْأَبْوَابِ سُطُورٌ. On the gates there are basically curtains. So the gates are open, but there's curtains that come down which are covering the gate. Right? So if you to lift it, you'll see an open gate. So then he says, then there is وَدَاعٍ يَدْعُو عَلَى رَأْسِ الصِّرَاطِ. At the end of the path, there is a caller that is calling you, to inviting you. And then there is another وَدَاعٍ يَدْعُو فَوْقَ الصِّرَاطِ. Then there is another caller which is above the path. So there's a caller on the path at the end saying, come this way. And there's a caller above and it's calling you as well. What is the explanation of this? Like this similitude which we can visually picture. It's something very easy to picture. Straight path, two walls, gates open, covered by curtains, and then a caller at the end and a caller above. What's the explanation of this? He says, As-siratul mustaqim. So he says, As-siratul mustaqim al-Islam. So this path is al-Islam. وَالسُّرَانِ حُدُودُ اللَّهِ. Right, the two walls are the limits of Allah, the hudud of Allah, meaning limits that you do not transgress. These are the laws, the prohibitions of Allah. You do not go outside of that. Then he says, وَالْأَبْوَابِ الْمُفَتَّحَةِ مَحَارِمُ اللَّهِ. So these gates that you see open on either side, they are the things which Allah has made haram, which Allah has made prohibited. And he says, فَلَا يَقَعَ أَحَدٌ فِي حَدٍّ مِّن حُدُودِ اللَّهِ حَتَّى يَكْشِفْ السِّتْرَ. Right? So in other words, the curtains which are pulled down, right? If you open up the curtain, once you remove the curtain, then you are exposed to walking through the gate into the maharim of Allah. So if you remove the curtain, then you will fall into... So the thing is, just don't even go and touch the curtain. Don't open the curtain. Because there will be an open path to the maharim of Allah. So don't go anywhere near the curtain. So he says, وَالدَّاعِي عَلَى رَأْسِ الصِّرَاطِ. So the thing at the end of the sirat, what is that? It is Kitabullah. So at the end is the book of Allah calling you, come this way to the path, do not go into the maharim, here, come straight. And then the وَالدَّاعِي فَوْقَ الصِّرَاطِ, the one that is above the path, what is that? It is وَاعِظُ اللَّهِ فِي قَلْبِ كُلِّ مُؤْمِنٍ. So this is the shahid now. It is the wa'idh of Allah in the heart of every mu'min. What is that? It is basically referring to the ilham, the inspiration that is coming from the angel saying to you, do not do this, do not do this, be righteous, do this righteous deed, right? This is the ilham that is coming to you from Allah by way of an angel that's inspiring you as to your righteousness. So in other words, you are given, the book of Allah is calling you, but then there's also this other thing which is giving you guidance. It is a type of guidance from the levels of guidance. It is ilham, meaning it's inspiring you as to your guidance. And this is something that we all know, we experience, because we know that sometimes we sit there on our own, we reflect, or we lie down, we reflect, and we know that ideas and thoughts are coming to our minds about repenting, about righteousness, about giving charity, about doing umrah, about rectifying the affairs with somebody, about this, that, and the other. These thoughts come to our minds. Whether we do it or not, that's something else. But this is a type of ilham that we receive, which is a type of guidance that is coming from Allah, that is, additional to the other types of guidance, right? We have al-bayan al-am, we have that type of guidance. We have al-bayan al-khas. We have this, the eighth, which is al-isma', where we are made to understand with the heart. Then we have ilham, like this type here. So this first type is what comes from the angels. The second type of ilham, he goes on to explain, it is what comes khitab al-hawatif min al-jan. These are things that come to us from the jinn. And, this is... those things which come from the jinn, we can either hear it directly with the ear, because the jinn, speaks and we hear it, or it could be something that he throws into the heart and he makes a suggestion. And so these are the types of things that we see, that we have the jinn competing and we have the malak, the angel, competing. And so this is something that the servant is subjected to. The third type is khitab hali. This is actually coming from yourself. It's coming from yourself. And وَإِنَّمَا هُوَ مِن نَفْسِهِ مِنْهَا بَدَأْ وَإِلَيْهِ يَعُودُ. These are things that we think about, and suggestions and promptings and things come to our mind, but that's not from, it's actually something that's really emanating from our own thought process. And this type of thing, he goes on to say, or he goes on to explain that this type of thing, whether it directs you to good or not, it all depends upon what you fill your heart with. If you fill your heart with good things and good thoughts and that which is wholesome and good and pure and truthful and righteousness, then the only self-thoughts and self-inspiration you will get will be that which will be good. But if you fill yourself with evil and listen to evil speech and you listen to falsehood and you think false things and you have evil feelings, and that's the nature of your thought and that's passing through you, then naturally that's what you're going to be inspired with from your own self. And so therefore a believer, if he wants to receive the right type of inspiration, whether it be through the malak or whether through that which is from his own thoughts and reflections that then come back to him in terms of suggestions, then he needs to obviously follow. He needs to be truthful, keep his heart clean, be righteous, think only good things, have only good thoughts, and make sure that what's passing through his mind is good and wholesome. And then whatever passes through, it will be, inshallah, it will inspire him as to his guidance. So this is the 9th level, which is the level of al-ilham. And this brings us to the 10th and final one. And this is al-martabatul ashira min maratib al-hidayah, al-ru'ya al-sadiqah. Al-ru'ya al-sadiqah. The 10th one is the truthful dream. The truthful dream, right? Where you see in a dream that which is, it is known as the wahiyya min ajza'in nubuwah. This is from the portions of prophethood, as we see in the hadith. Ar-ru'ya as-sadiqah juz'un min sittatin wa arba'ina juz'an min an-nubuwah. The righteous dream is one portion out of 46 portions of the prophethood. So to have a righteous dream is a 1/46th of prophethood. And he says, وَالرُّؤْيَا مَبْدَأُ الْوَحِي وَصِدْقُهَا بِصِدْقِ الرَّائِي وَأَصْدَقُ النَّاسِ رُؤْيًا أَصْدَقُهُمْ حَدِيثًا وهي عند اقتراب الزمان لا تكاد تخطئ كما قال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم. So he said the righteous dream is really, it is the beginning and the foundation of actual revelation. And the truthfulness of the dream is in accordance with the truthfulness of the one seeing it. And the most truthful of people are the ones who have the most truthful dreams. And then when time comes closer, then it will be that as if إذا اقترب الزمان in a hadith, then the ru'ya of a Muslim would hardly ever be false. And the most truthful of them in their dreams are the ones the most truthful of them in their speech. Right? So this is another type of guidance where if you are someone, again, you are truthful, it comes back down to siddiqiyah. If you are truthful in intention, word and deed, then that which you see in your dream, then it will be correct. You will see things which are true in your dream, or they will be true. Ubadah bin as-Samit radiyallahu anhu, he said, رؤيا المؤمن كلام يكلم به الرب عبده في المنام. So this companion radiyallahu anhu, he said, the dream of a believer is speech by which his Lord speaks to a servant in his dream. Well, now this is not revelation like the first, obviously not like taqleem and wahi like that. But when a righteous, truthful person sees a dream and is truthful, it is as if, as Ubadah said, it's like a type of kalam that the Lord is speaking to his servant through that kalam, but by way of a dream. By way of a dream. So it's not actual kalam. It's the dream is the thing that is being imparted to the servant. And the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, "Lam yabqa min an-nubuwwah illa al-mubashsharat." Nothing remains of prophethood, meaning among the people, nothing remains except the issue of good tidings given to a believer in dreams. When believers see dreams in which there are good tidings, this is like the remnants of prophethood. The only thing left of prophethood is the good, righteous dream. As for everything else is cut off, right? The revelation from Allah, the wahi, the Rasul, al-Malik, all that thing is cut off. But the righteous dream, which is 1/46th of prophethood, this has remained among the people. And likewise, وَالرُّؤْيَا كَالْكُشُوفِ مِنْهَا رَحْمَانِ وَمِنْهَا نَفْسَانِ وَمِنْهَا شَيْطَانِ. So just like ilham, the dream also is of three categories. There is that which can come from Ar-Rahman, from Allah. There is that which can come from shaitan, and there is that which can come from yourself. Ar-ru'ya thalatha, قال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم. رؤيا من الله ورؤيا تحزين من الشيطان. So you have one dream which is from Allah. You have one dream which is where it makes you sad and you see something bad and gives you sad feeling. وَرُؤْيَا مِمَّا يُحَدِّثُ بِهِ الرَّجُلُ نَفْسَهُ فِي الْيَقْظَةِ فِيَرَاهُ فِي الْمَنَامِ. And then the third type is something that the person is conversing, he's thinking things to himself, and then thinking thoughts, and then it turns up in one form or another in his dream. So he sees that which has come from himself. So all of this, the dream, from these three types, the one which is guidance is the dream which comes from Allah specifically. And if you want, وَمَنْ أَرَادَ أَن تَصْدُقْ رُؤْيَا, whoever wants his dream to be truthful, then let him be truthful in his speech. فَلْيَتَحَرِّ الصِّدْقِ وَأَكْلَ الْحَلَالِ, let him eat the halal. وَالْمُحَافَظَ عَلَى الْأَمْرِ وَالنَّهِي, let him safeguard the command and the prohibition. Let him sleep. وَلْيَنَمْ عَلَى طَهَارَةٍ كَامِلَةٍ, let him sleep when he is in perfect purity, meaning sleep when you are in wudu, in purification. مُسْتَقْبِلَ الْقِبْلَةِ, as you are facing the qibla. And then keep remembering Allah until your eyes close and you fall asleep, because such a ru'ya will never ever be false. So if you do all these things, you eat only from the halal, you keep away from Allah's prohibitions, you are truthful in all of your speech, and you remember Allah, you are in a state of purification, and you maintain this, then the dreams that you see will hardly ever be false. Meaning that the things that you see will actually be true, or they will turn out to be true. And so the most truest of dreams are those which take place in the al-ashar, in the last third of the night. Why? Because that is the time of the descent. فَإِنَّهُ وَقْتُ النُّزُولِ الْإِلَهِ وَاقْتِرَابِ الرَّحْمَةِ وَالْمَغْفِرَةِ. This is the time when Allah descends, mercy and forgiveness is close, and the shayateen, they are quiet in this last third of the night. And the opposite is true. The dream that you see in the first third of the night, this is when the shayateen are widespread and the evil, shaitans, they spread. This is when the dream is most likely not to be, is the other way around. So the best dream is in the time when Allah descends in the last third of the night. So this now is the 10th type of guidance. It is the righteous dream. So this really brings us to an end of this section. And to put it all together then, what we've discussed today is the guidance when we say, Ihdina as-sirat al-mustaqim, O Allah, we are invoking Allah, guide us to the straight path. Then these are all the ways that Allah indeed guides to the straight path. Right? Allah is answering the supplication. Allah is doing what we are asking Him to do. How have we received this guidance? We have received all these levels of guidance. Taqleem and Wahi and Rasul, Al-Malaki, right? All of which come to the prophets and messengers. Then after that, there are some people who are muhaddath. More so in the past nations, less so in this nation, because the Quran and the Sunnah and the Revelation and the Prophet, they have brought perfection. We do not need in this ummah, like the Bani Israel needed, to have muhaddathun, mukallamun. Right? We don't need that in this ummah. That's why it's very, very rare to have that. And the message of that if there was in this ummah, it would be Umar bin al-Khattab, which indicates it is something very rare and very infrequent. And then after that, it is the martaba of al-ifham. Right? That Allah gives understanding to somebody. This is a type of guidance. How do you gain understanding? It is siddiqiyah, being truthful in intention, word and deed. Then after that is martaba al-bayan al-am, the general bayan which has reached all of mankind. This is conveying revelation, explaining truth from falsehood, tawheed from shirk, iman from kufr, righteousness from sin, and so on and so forth. Right? This is the condition of guide. It is the shart. You cannot be guided except with this bayan, which can only come from the prophets and messengers and revelation. Right? Then the seventh type is al-bayan al-khas. This is where Allah imparts a specific type of guidance to a person where He gives him tawfiq in acting upon the guidance. Some people, Allah gives them that bayan khas. This was the 7th. And then the 8th one is isma'. Isma'. This is where Allah makes the ma'na to reach your heart. And the 9th one was the isma', and the 9th one was ilham. Allah gives inspiration to each person by way of the angel or by way of what the self inspires you to when you think and reflect, as long as you are always truthful, having clean thoughts, truthful, and you will prompt yourself to do good, right? And then the 10th and final one is the ru'ya salihah, the righteous dream, which again, it's either from the angel or from the shaitan, or it is from Allah, from the shaitan, or it is from what your own soul, what you think and reflect, and it turns up in your dream. So the point being from all of this, that all of this is guidance from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah guides His servants through revelation, but also in addition to that, through all the other ways and means as well. Different people are given their guidance in different ways. And that's why we are ordered, as we see in the hadith, Allahumma alhimni rushdi. Oh Allah, inspire me as to my guidance. Waqini sharra nafsi. And save me from the evil of my own soul. And protect me from the evil of my own soul. So that means that the guidance is something, as we see, that there is more to guidance. Allah is imparting guidance to His servants in all these different ways, and these are different levels. Some are unique to the prophets and messengers, and then others are unique to specific people, and then others are general to the believers and to the non-believers who are guided to Islam. So we'll finish on that note, inshaAllah ta'ala. All of this is in Al-Fatiha. Ihdina as-sirat al-mustaqim. Right, so there's different types of guidance. Earlier on we said there is the guidance of al-irshad, wal-dilala, wal-bayan. Right, so there is the guidance which is just explanation of the truth, conveying of the truth, making the truth known. Then there is the guidance of at-tawfiq, right? Granted success in acting upon the guidance in the life of this world. Then there is the guidance in the hereafter, which is guidance on the sirat over hellfire. And it will be like for like, just as you were on the sirat in this world and how you traversed upon it, then you will traverse in exactly the same way on the bridge over hellfire, like for like. Right? So these are two types of guidance in this life and the guidance in the hereafter. And then as far as guidance, as Allah imparts it to His creation, then there are 10 levels, and these are what we discussed today. So now when we recite Al-Fatiha and we are making tawassul to Allah, we are saying Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, Ar-Rahmanir Rahim, Maliki Yawmiddin. This is tawassul to Allah by way of His names, Iyaka na'budu wa iyaka nasta'een. This is tawassul to Allah by way of righteous deeds, which is al-ibadah wal-isti'ana. Then we say, Ihdina as-sirat al-mustaqim. O Allah, guide us, collective supplication, guide us to the straight path. And then what is that guidance? Well, Allah has guided us through revelation. He's guided us through all these other ways and means, ifham, isma' and ilham, and ru'ya sadiqa, right? These are all ways and means Allah gives us and directs us to the guidance of tawfiq, to the guidance of success. So now that we understand that, and as we recite this in Al-Fatiha in our prayers, then these other meanings should be as you go through the ayat, Ihdina as-sirat al-mustaqim, then now you have something to think about in your mind that will take you away from thinking about the world, right? Because the whole aim here is that we need to be engrossed in the prayer, that these ma'ani, these meanings, that we have something to focus on in the prayer beyond just the words. It has to be the meanings, so that we're not distracted by other things outside of the prayer. So this is why this is tremendously important and beneficial from Ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah. And we'll finish on that note for today. Now, the next section is also tremendously beneficial. The next section, the next layer of meaning in Al-Fatiha is to do with healing and cure. Ash-shifa, ash-shifa. So this will bring the discussion of healing and curing the illnesses of the heart and of the body by way of Al-Fatiha, and how Al-Fatiha can cure physical illnesses as well, not just the illnesses of the heart. And there is clear proof and evidence for that in the Quran and the Sunnah, that when Al-Fatiha is recited with ma'na, with meaning, and with strength from the individual reciting it, that it can overwhelm and overcome even the physical poison. And we shall look at evidences for that from the ahadith of the Messenger of Allah, and because this also now is connected to other issues as well. It's a very interesting discussion that inshallah we'll leave for the next lesson. So that will be the next layer of meaning to be stacked upon all of the rest, which is the issue of healing. The Quran being a healing, and specifically Al-Fatiha being a healing for the heart and for the bodies as well. So we'll leave that for the next lesson. Walhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wa sallallahu ala nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in.